Hello everyone, my name is Max. Welcome to Design Talk. This channel will mostly discuss about UI and UX design. Having worked as product designer for an IT vendor, I've designed various demands of Android, iOS and web-based apps. Therefore, I would like to share my knowledge to you guys, especially for those who just started their UX career path. So, let's get started. With the advancement of technology, more and more people are getting involved in design. For starters, it's important to know the difference between UI and UX design. So, what is UX design? UX design stands for User Experience Design. According to Don Norman, a cognitive scientist and co-founder of the Nielsen Norman Group Design Consultancy, user experience encompasses all aspects of the end user's interaction with a company, its services, and its products. Essentially, UX applies to anything that can be experienced, be it a website, a coffee machine, or a visit to the supermarket. The user experience part refers to the interaction between the user and a product or service. User experience design, then, considers all the different elements that shape this experience. User experience design is the process of researching, developing, and improving all aspects of user interaction with a product to satisfy its users. The goal is to improve the user's experience with the product through test results, eventually creating a product that is useful and valuable, as well as easy to obtain, pleasing to use. User experience design is, in theory, a non-digital, cognitive science practice, but used and defined predominantly by digital industries. UX design is not about visuals, it focuses on the overall feel of the experience. How about UI design? UI design stands for User Interface Design. User interface is the visual appearance of a product. User interface design is a purely digital practice. It considers all the visual, interactive elements of a product interface, including buttons, icons, spacing, typography, color schemes, and responsive design. The goal of UI design is to visually guide the user through a product's interface. It's all about creating an intuitive experience that doesn't require the user to think too much. UI design transfers the brand's strengths and visual assets to a product's interface, making sure the design is consistent, coherent, and aesthetically pleasing. So, what's the difference between UI and UX? In terms of functionality, UI is how things look, UX is how things work. UX is a process while UI is a deliverable. UX design is all about identifying and solving user problems. UI design is all about creating intuitive, aesthetically pleasing, interactive interfaces. UX design usually comes first in the product development process, followed by UI. The UX designer maps out the bare bones of the user journey. The UI designer then fills it in with visual and interactive elements. UX can apply to any kind of product, service, or experience. UI is specific to digital products and experiences. Now, how about the designers? To have a better understanding about UI and UX, let's have a closer look of how UX and UI designers differentiate. Firstly, the thought process. UX designers mostly use critical and creative thinking. They not only see the product from aesthetic perspective but also trying to find solution to the problem itself. While UI designers, they use creative and convergent thinking. In doing their job, UI designers usually generate a lot of creative ideas and then later evaluate them to find the best ideas. Secondly, the visual strength. UX designers mainly focused on task flows and scenarios. They prioritize in the flows of the app, whether in micro or macro interactions. They also thought about several scenarios that might and already existed with the app, whether they are suitable or not for the needs. A UX designer thinks about how the experience makes the user feel and how easy it is for the user to accomplish their desired tasks. For example, how easy is the checkout process when shopping online? How easy is it for you to grip that vegetable peeler? Does your online banking app make it easy for you to manage your money? The ultimate purpose of UX design is to create easy, efficient, relevant, and all-round pleasant experiences for the user. On the other hand, UI designers have more focused on colors and typography. They are responsible for choosing the color selection, whether it is solid or gradient, and also pay specific rule to the color combination. For typography, UI designers decide which typeface and font the app's going to use. They will also take the blame if one day people question the typeface's legality, whether it is paid or free for commercials type of font. Thirdly, the design foundation. UX designers design based on who the users are, the needs, and the research. They will find the overlapping part of those three as their foundation of design. While thinking about users, they will take into account stuff like who the users are, the age, the demographic, etc. They will also consider the product's need, like what's the aim of the product? Is it to increase engagement, increase retention, or revamp, and eventually, research. When the UX designers design a product, there will be several assumptions that come up to their mind. They will not rely on that. Instead, they do research to test their assumptions and ideas, whether it's user testing, A/B testing, user interviews, etc. Because of this, sometimes UX designers also fill the role of information architect, project manager, content strategist, and system analyst. UI designers will focus on the overlapping of the clients, the needs, and the requirements. They tend to follow what the clients request on the product. They will also fulfill the needs of the product that has to do with the visuals such as colors, buttons, sizing, etc. And eventually, the requirements that needed for the product such as the color assets, typography, logo, icon, etc. UI designers can also fill positions like graphic designer, brand designer, web designer, and front-end developer. Fourthly, the design principles. UX designers utilize human-centered design. Human-centered design is a design approach that puts the users first, resulting in useful and usable products and services. UX designers who foster human-centered design create a culture of focusing on the user when creating products, keeping them at the heart of the product development process. Considering their limitations, constraints, and desires, you end with tailor-made solutions that satisfy their needs. I would recommend you to read The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman for more insights. Whereas UI designers primarily focused on visual design. Visual design is the use of imagery, color, shapes, typography, and form to enhance usability and improve the user experience. Visual design as a field has grown out of both UI design and graphic design. Fifthly, the expertise. UX designers usually excelled in wireframing, prototyping, and researching. The output of the prototype is usually called low-fidelity design. The reason is because UX designers generally use only 3 colors in prototype design: black, white, and gray. While UI designers usually experts in mock-ups, graphics, and layout. UI designers tend to design prototypes in full color. The difference can be seen commonly in designing and using icons. For example, when you need to create a bottom navigation bar, UI designers will spend lots of energy making it as realistic as possible, including the button color before and after clicking. On the contrary, UX designers would insert the button in the right place, then leave a note gray after clicking. Next, the tools they use. Since there are so many differences in the roles between UI and UX designers, the tools they use must be different. For UI designers, designing images is of prime importance. Hence, tools like Flino and Principle, which are bounded to Sketch, have an advantage. InVision is also an option, and the team collaboration function makes it a competitive option. UX designers will favor a wireframe as it saves time and makes designing more efficient. There are lots of qualified design and prototyping tools. I personally use Balsamic mockups for low-fidelity design and use Adobe XD for high-fidelity design and prototyping. Of course, it is up to you which software you prefer to use because in the end it is the skills that really matters, not the tools. If you're keen to pursue a career in design but still aren't sure whether to focus on UX or UI, you'll need to spend some time thinking about where your interests lie. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it and don't forget to subscribe to more videos from Design Talk.